welcome to Daybreak Live Extra on Dominion Television. It's Friday, the 15th of May 2026. Thank you for starting your day with us. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako.
And I'm Manolo Akpoido. It's a pleasure to have you with us this morning as we dive into the critical headlines, political developments, and policy changes affecting our nation.
And I am Samson Balogo. We are glad to have you join us as we bring you the stories and conversations shaping the day.
We begin this morning with rising political tensions in Oyo State. Supporters of Chief Adebayo Adelabu stormed the APC Secretariat to protest and demand direct primaries. The demonstration is throwing a spotlight on internal party democracy and electoral structures ahead of the upcoming polls.
After our opening discussion, we'll bring you the weather report to help you plan your day, followed by Daybreak News, where we take you through the national and international stories making the headlines.
Then it is on to newspaper headlines and analysis, where we'll review the front pages and unpack the key issues driving public discourse this morning.
Definitely. Then later in the program, we turn to our big story, marking this 2027 presidency bid. Real challenge to APC's Southwest dominance or political strategy to position loyalists. As regional alignment shifts, we examine the true weight of the Oyo governor's ambitions on the national stage. And join us for this analysis is political analyst Afolabi.
And as always, we round off with Trend Watch, where we track the conversations shaping public attention across social and civil spaces.
This is Daybreak Live Extra on Dominion Television. So
stay with us this morning. Good morning to you, guys.
Good morning. Really nice to be back here on a Friday morning. I was asking Yemi where she's going after the show anyway.
I just woke up this morning, picked up something from the wardrobe, and I wore it.
Oh, okay. Well, time will definitely unfolds everything. By the time it is 1 o'clock, we will know exactly where Yemi will be after the news. But but away from there,
with my father.
Away from there, let's talk politics. Let's discuss the issue of some people in the country who actually said a lot of things yesterday, but there are reports also about protest at the APC secretariat yesterday. And some people actually claimed they were the supporters of the gubernatorial aspirant of the APC in Oyo State, one of the leading gubernatorial aspirants, and that's talking about Chief Adebayo Adelabu, who happens to be the immediate past minister of PA in the country, saying, look, his supporters were at the state secretariat of the APC yesterday, and they were protesting. And shortly after, I think a few hours after, about 3 hours after, he released a press statement and said, look, he distanced himself from any form of protest at the APC secretariat. And now that became more interesting because there were protests actually. Okay, that he distanced himself from it does not mean that there was no protest. Actually, there was. But the challenge now is that what actually caused the protest was the fact that some people felt some candidates were being imposed on them. This consensus arrangement of a thing. And we have, I think, a few times we have discussed it on this platform that candidacy of, consensus candidacy might actually break down a political party, make or mar a political party if care is not taken. Because everyone who's contesting, especially those who actually bought the nomination form and declaration of interest form, will have to be on the same page. They have to agree. Otherwise, there will be a primary election, which is a direct primary as stipulated in the new Electoral Act. But quite unfortunately, yesterday at the APC Secretariat, we'll see exactly how rowdy that was. And, some people even joked about it that while that was going on at the APC Secretariat, the new presidential aspirant of the APM actually passed through that space when he was going to Mapo Hall for his declaration yesterday, because the PDP and the APC secretariat, are both in Okeado in Ibadan, and it was said that he passed through that area. And let's just take a look at what happened there before we talk further on the whole situation. We'll be back. All right, you could hear some of them saying from governor to senator to rep to House of Assembly, we want primaries. I mean, that was a bold statement by some of some of them who participated in the protest at the Okeado office of the APC yesterday. And we have always said it on this platform that, you know, if care is not taken, if you try to force some people on their party members, there might be a problem. And this actually means a lot, especially with 2027 already shaping up. For some people, yesterday I saw a video of Akinola Kazim Akinjide, who is actually one of the aspirants of the APC in Egbeda on our federal constituency. He made a video and told his followers that, look, if I want to be selfish, I will take you out in the sun and start protesting. But if the party says this is what we want, then so be it. At least we are all members of this political party. Let's see what will happen, you know, in the days to come. And also in Onwara, some people protested the nomination of Aki Alabi as the candidate of the APC in Egbeda Onwara federal constituency. He is returning for the third time in office. And in Oluyole, some people also voted against the nomination of Honorable Tolulokwe Shadipe Akande, that she should not return. And some people also raised questions about her disappearance for a few months, that nobody really heard of her. Some said she was sick, some said a lot of things, but then people from that constituency are saying, look, we don't want this person again. And what does that say for your state APC going into 2027 general election? That's a very big question we must talk about this morning.
Well, I think Oyo State is very important as a place now to talk about, and that is due to, we can say over the years, we've seen over 3 million voters currently in the state, according to the database I got. And that seems so massive. You have to look at the numbers because you understand how also important Oyo is to the socio-political space in the Southwest generally. So Oyo State is not a state to just let go without taking a thought of. But again, I would like to say, and this is my opinion, I think the whole issue came from the national level. It came from the federal level. And this is what I mean. Two things. The first is that when the whole defection issue started, there were possibilities. In fact, there were people who had premonitions that this was going to be the undoing of the APC because every single person was coming to the APC. And it brought a question to say, how many seats are available really? Because if everybody that is known to be a powerhouse in himself or in a state is coming to this party, defecting to this party, how many slots can they get? And I recall just a few days, a couple of days back, there was a newspaper that brought it out that 101 aspirants are contesting on the IPC for just 28 gubernatorial seats. How do you share that? I mean, even if they have to do, maybe they want to just do a coalition and then one becomes the governor, the other becomes the deputy, it will still not go round because there's just there's a river of people that want the same thing. And you have to beg that to say, the interest that we all talk about, our policy is about interest. Yeah, the interest now, everybody has one interest in one thing, and there are a lot of people who cannot even share in that sense. So how do you even tackle this? Now, I remember just a couple of days too, the paper brought it out that, you know, the only place with a consensus candidate was Borno State in the APC. And then Oyo, according to some data said they have about 11. And you know, but of course we know the big ones, maybe the ones that are more prominent, Sharafaddin Ali, Adebayo Adelabu, and the others too. You can tell that, okay, yes, there's going to be a scuffle at this point. So we understood, in fact, I don't want to say I prophesied this, but I saw this coming. And I think I asked one time when we had Honorable Molaja, and I was asking the question, how do you determine the next candidate or the aspirant for the APC? Is there going to be a consensus or an elite imposition, or there's going to be direct primaries? And I'm not sure he nailed the head. I'm not sure he put the nail to it because he wasn't also sure. And I'm not blaming him for that. I'm saying that the party I knew this was going to happen, because when every other person is saying this is like the viable option for us to go, this is the party that would get me the candidacy, or perhaps that will get me the power seats, then I have to go here. So how do you even now share all of this between the people? I discovered that's on the one hand. On the other hand, that I say it's a problem of the national body generally, is when the whole situation came about, there were a lot of persons that alleged that the current president of the country, President Bola Tinubu, is actually that kind of elite impositor. I don't know how best to put that, but some have said he's always involved in making a king and removing a king. You know, they call him kingmaker, they call him master strategist, whatever you call him. Is also because you remember in Lagos politics over the years, he's been influential. If he's not picking a candidate, he's backing one. If he's not backing you, then there's almost no chance for you to win. And you can tell that, okay, so if the president is acclaimed or adjudged to be a godfather in this whole political system, then it won't be a thing for APC to now look for the same issue or for it to trickle down to every state in their party. But again, let's say, because you mentioned that he's just a strategist, he's not a godfather, but whatever you want to think about that, I think this was going to happen because, one, the personality of the present president shows that he can impose. I'm not saying that like an allegation. I'm saying that we've seen from what we have seen that. I remember he even made a statement when he was about to contest. He was telling us about that the former president, the late president, Muhammadu Buhari, he said when he first tried, he failed. The way he said it, that is quite funny. He said he failed, and then he came about again to say, and then when he came to him, he said, don't worry, we'll do it. And then you can tell that from that, he might not have said it verbatim, but he implied it in a statement that, you know what, I helped this guy become the president. And so you can tell if someone is saying that I single-handedly did a lot of things behind the scenes that you people are not seeing to ensure that this guy gets to this position. So you can tell that there's a hand of godfatherism or imposition, or what some would call elite consensus or elite imposition in all of this game. So when I saw this, I knew this was going to be a thing. Now, I don't know if this is the best thing for them to do in Oyo State, because they have lost the last two elections they've lost, right? So we understand that the present administration of Seyi Makinde is a PDP administration, and I'm not sure they also have the upper hand. But this crisis is quite evident. It's quite apparent that there's almost every chance that the APC will lose out if they continue this feud. Because I know for one, I was saying that how do you now decide who is going to be your candidate? Because if you have like a myriad of people, like you have a league and an array of politicians who have done one thing or the other, I was saying that the best way, in my own view, is to conduct a direct primary. And to do that as well, maybe you allow the people to, examine and vet their scorecards. Yes, you've served in a position. How well did you fare? Those are the things we can look out for to say, okay, so we have like very big guys contesting for the same thing, but can we check how well did you do in the last activity or the last position you handled? And the other person, let's put it together and say, okay, so which one can we go for? And everybody gets to decide. So I think this is where the party structure, like we've always said, something comes into play. If the party structure, if the party, is it charter or whatever, the constitution they call it, whatever, that should now stand. That should be the deciding factor for every party, maybe for every state as well in the APC now, to say, what do we have to say, who can we field in this kind of position? One, we understand that we need somebody who has the power, who has the strength, and who has maybe the voice. One. Two, we also need someone who has the money bag, right? Someone who can help the party financially. So those are the considerations. Look at those considerations. Whoever cannot get it now, maybe there's a promise. Maybe there's, I don't know, maybe whatever you call it, to say, we can give you this thing someday, somehow, and just share all of that. But let us have the best candidate from the APC, and let it not just be a fight. When he said it was in Abuja, he said it was in Abuja while all of those all of the fracas were happening, and he was not aware that he claimed alibi that it was not of course. But anyway, some have said that whether or not you said you were not there, these people mentioned your name, that they were fighting for you. So who instigated that? And it could also mean that maybe he did not tell them to do it, But because he has a fan base that is quite strong, and he's made some statement that he wants to come. Remember, he declared just recently, and then when he said, you could see the crowd, you could see the number of people he pulled together, and someone was saying that he must have spent over millions of naira just at that, because he had big guys come, and not just, and then the ones that sang too, the very prominent ones that sang, they will not collect 1 naira from you, they will collect something more than 1 naira. So it's obvious that he's spending a lot of money, and he's putting a lot of resources, and he's also pulling a lot of crowd as well. So that for him is a strategy to win over the minds and the heart of the people that are going to vote him. But I love that as a thing. But I also want to say that come 2027, if there's anything I pray, is that peace will reign. Whatever the case is, whoever wants to become president, governor, whatever you want to be, we hope that peace will reign, because at the end of the day, it will not make sense after people have lost a lot of chances to become better, or for that the country has lost a lot of chances to become better, and now we are now back to the case where we are now killing ourselves, because apparently, you know, politicians will not die. It's just the people that are maybe voting, or the people that are, you know, just conducting the elections that would eventually lose their life. So what we are saying is that we want peace in the state, regardless of your ambition. If you are making a statement, remember there is unintended consequences for everything you say. So as a leader, we don't want you to make statements that can incite actions or incite violence across the country. We want peace to reign, even if you want to become whatever you want to become.
Right, so I think peace is like the major thing that we're going to talk about this morning. And then when I watched the video, I actually saw quite a number of things. And then the publicity secretary of the APC said something. That's Olawale Shadari. He said the people who came, in his words, he actually referred to them as hoodlums. And he said the people who came to attack the building came with charms, came with, you know, very dangerous weapons. And I'm wondering, if you belong to a political party, no, I believe that, you know, if you look at the majority of those in APC, PDP, they are more of straight bedfellows. They just came together for one particular reason, not because they like each other, you know, that much, basically. But then it's okay. So if you come to your secretariat with charms, dangerous weapons, just to prove a point, and then, so what are you telling us? What are you telling Nigerians, the people of your state, that should vote for you? Because at the end of the day, it is for this same reason that APC lost the by-election in last year in this or your state, and
Opposition.
Then exactly, and then the candidate of the PDP won, because those who were there when they had a meeting, they said the same thing, though it was not as intense as like what happened yesterday, but the same thing happened. You know, people were injured. You know, people. I don't know, why do you have to engage in fisticuff? You know, I saw somebody carrying bottled water, trying to spray it on the people, and it doesn't really make any sense to me. If at all you want to prove a point, it's good to be, no, it's okay to be disgruntled. It's okay to not feel okay with what your party is doing, especially for the state. But there are better ways to explain things to people. If this is the best way they can explain this to the people, it really does not make any sense to me, basically. And I don't know what is going on within the APC. At the center, I think the man at the center knows how to placate people. And that's why, even within the APC, there are people that would have left by now. But they are staying there because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu knows how to speak to the people. At the end of the day, if care is not taken, APC might make the same mistake they made in 2023, and then the candidate of another political party will actually take it, because ever since the former late governor Ajimobi was done with his 8 years, you know, the APC, in a way, you know, it just became like they could not put themselves in order. They could not come together to actually field a candidate. Let's talk about the governorship in the election, or let me say the candidate of the APC. One person came out to declare his interest, and then later another person resigned. And then he said, okay, the president actually anointed me. And if you look, in the last few days, I saw a video where some members of your APC, you know, actually were in support of Sharafa Diali, and people were asking what will happen to Adebayo Adelabu. Maybe that's why something like this happened. And then the man coming out to say, I'm distancing myself from this. Yes, he's going to distance himself from it, because at the end of the day, we cannot really ascertain who sponsored this to say, okay, go there. You can protest.
It might not even be sponsored.
Exactly, it might not be sponsored.
It could be just an invitation by some people.
Exactly, but at the end of the day, this is not the best way to do it. You have the right to, is within your right as a Nigerian to actually protest. But is this the best way? Because they don't know, these people that went there, you are sending a signal to the people. Politics is not a do or die affair. Even the president himself, I remember a few weeks back, he came out to say that we should stay away. He was speaking to, the members of APC as a political party. Stay away from violent politics. It doesn't make any sense. If at all you are aggrieved, come there, protest and leave.
People were injured yesterday. I saw videos and then I was reading the reports that, they broke windshields of people, private cars that were parked there, people that had nothing to do with politics. Maybe you just stepped out to buy something, came back, and you are looking at your car. You cannot really place it. It's looking like a melodrama in your face because your car is no longer your car. Someone just parked a car very close to the secretariat. People were injured, properties were destroyed. At the end of the day, the public fund will still be used to actually refurbish all these properties that were destroyed. So we are going back again, and that's why we need to get the act of protest right. You are not comfortable. I said it all the time. Somebody argued one thing and he said consensus in a way, and the person also argued that consensus or zoning system in a way is a conspiracy of the elite. That why can't we just go for direct primaries? When I watched the video, that man said it in Yoruba. He said that we don't want this particular candidate. We want this particular candidate. Primaries la fe. Let me link this to Lagos. I watched a video yesterday, and this man, you all know him, the chief of staff to the president, Betabi Amila. He said he almost lost his job because of Desmond Elliott. That the president called him at a time and said, I heard Desmond is part of those who are actually giving Obasa issues in Lagos, in the assembly in Lagos. And he said, no, that's not possible. That even he was not sure whether Desmond was part of it. And at the end of the day, I've read several headlines in the last few weeks of people saying we don't want Desmond Elliott again. He's been there for 12 years. Exactly. They said they don't want him.
Not just politicians now.
That they want, exactly, the majority of them are people from Surrey. They don't want him again. He's been there for 12 years. We want somebody else. And if, in a same country, basically, if you have done 12 years in the place, where are you? Somebody wrote a poem and he was talking about sit-tight patriot. And then he said a lot of things. If you've done 12 years, why can't you give room for another person to come in? But his body language now, maybe he might still want to contest. We really cannot tell now. So I'm just saying this. Somebody argued, a particular activist woman in the 1950s, Adunu Oluwole, she argued and said Nigeria is actually not ripe for independence. And then this was argument that you see, if Nigeria gets this independence, the politicians, the political elite will take the place of the British oppressors and continue to oppress the people. And then is it far from the truth for what is happening actually today? Because if you look at it, are we actually doing better than those who actually colonized us? At the end of the day, we really cannot prove the independence that we have. Over 60 years after independence, people are still fighting. Oh, we know that, okay, at the end of the day, maybe in the 60s and 70s, Nigeria witnessed a lot of political violence. But can we outgrow that stage and begin to communicate perfectly? And that's why when people who cannot communicate well enter into politics, it becomes a problem. Must you injure people? Must you destroy properties because you want to make your interest or because you want to prove a point? We really need to work on that, basically.
Well, just before we leave this topic, I would love to touch on two things. You see, there is no problem about longevity on the floor of the House, as long as you are delivering to the people of your constituency or your senatorial district. And I would quickly touch on people who have actually, even in this so-called Senate climbs. I think Robert Byrd was on the floor of the Senate in West Virginia. He was a Democrat. He was there from 1959 to 2010. He served 51 years, and that's in America. Ted Kennedy, the same Ted Kennedy we all know, was there for 47 years from 62 to 2009. And Orrin Hatch was there for 42 years. Chuck Grassley, 45 years plus. Mitch Connelly was there from 1985 till now. He spent about over 40 years. A lot of them like that. In America, you find a lot of them who have been senators from God knows how long, 40, 50 years, and they are still there, representing the same set of people they've been representing from day one, from ab initio. Now, my problem is not how long you have spent on the floor of the House, in the green or the red chamber. The problem is how well have you represented your people? What exactly are you doing to make sure that you bring the goods or the dividends of democracy down to your constituency, down to your senatorial district, and they are feeling your impact, especially when they get to know, oh, my senator sponsored this bill. It might not be something that really affects them directly, but it will be something they can hear, they can see, they can read that, oh, this person is doing so much for the country. I'll cite an instance. A rep member brought, I think, a naval base to Oyo State. But he said his constituency, I think that was Honorable Agbowoni, he brought a naval base to Ibadan. And quite unfortunately, his senatorial district, which is Northeast Southeast Federal Constituency, has no landmass to occupy such kind of installation. They had to move it to Onara. But most importantly, he was able to fight for it, and now Ibadan can say, oh, we have a naval base or somewhere in Ibadan. And you know, another thing that we are not talking about is, I think there's a reason why you would want to return some of these people that have been returned to office, especially the likes of Akin Alabi, Tolu, Akande, Shadipe, and so many other people who are being given return tickets. According to some information out there, it was an express instruction from the president that everyone that are currently on the floor of the house should be returned. Now I see where that is coming from. If that is the case, I think Senator Fatai Buhari too also deserves to be, at least if there is going to be a consensus, he deserves to go back to the Red Chamber, because that is the instruction according to the president. Now, these are my own reasons to say, oh, people would love them to come back, especially the president, whose election will be on the same day with these people. Okay, what do incumbents have to offer the president? One, they have existing grassroots structures that they have built. You see, this empowerment of grinding machine and air dryer and the likes that they do actually brings a lot of people together, and they will be banking on that going to the next election. They don't want to throw that away, because once their principal is not contesting, most of them will likely be sheep with no shepherd, and then they might just be claimed by other political parties. Away from there, they are these same people we are talking about. They are ward level mobilizers. Okay, what they do is to convince people. One person convinces 10, 10 convinces 100, 100 convinces 1,000, and then they are there, singing praises of this politician, and then going to the next election, you have people that you can say, oh, these are our party members. Also, these are the same people that are used as polling agents, and they are paid for by rep members. In your federal constituency, you sponsor them. You pay, probably you drop the money with the party, or you pay party agents within your constituency or within your senatorial district to make sure that your votes are taken care of. They are guarded with all forms of sincerity, because if you are bringing an outsider to help you monitor your vote, you will be a joker, especially in a country like Nigeria. Now, these will be their loyal supporters, and the recognition, the name is already there. It's been there for example, Akin Alabi has been there for 3 tenures. I mean, that happens to be 12 years. Tolu Akande Shadipe is probably going for a 3rd time in office. A lot of people like that who will be returning. The name is there. People know that, oh, this person has been our rep for a long time. So there is a level of acceptability amongst the people, even though it might not be really so when it comes to party level. People in your political party might not like you. But if the people who are going to cast the vote, if they truly like you, then that's a plus. I could remember someone was talking to me yesterday about a rep in somewhere in Ibadan Metropolis, and said, look, this person really did not take care of his constituents. What she did was to buy expensive vehicles for party leaders. And these are the people that are going to sit down and say, look, let's bring this person as a consensus candidate. So what it means is that this person does not know book, but actually knew people, right? She knew the way. And one way or the other, she's finding her way back into the green chamber. However, it's going to be a very big challenge for APC, especially for those who might not have that electoral credibility amongst the people. You might have acceptability in your party, but then do the people really want to vote you? And, now that we have a lot of political parties, these votes will be polarized. We are now having, even the major political parties are not, they are becoming as popular as the not so popular political parties now. So it's becoming more and more of an open situation for everyone to come in and contest an election. If that is the case, I think the major political party will have to sit tight. Because if you are fielding people that might not really get votes in the next general election, I'm not saying they will not, and if you are fielding people that of questionable character, there are several reasons why people would not want to vote for a political party. So there are 2 things in this. It's either people will vote for you because of your candidates, or they are voting for you because they are loyal to your political party. One of the 2 must come to play. But before you actually vote for a candidate, you must have marketed that candidate to an extent. And that's where the level of being there for a long time comes to play. People already know them. That might actually help. But if the party has a little bit of skirmishes or dents here and there, it will be another problem. In fact, if you are bringing no matter how clean that candidate is, if you are bringing such person into a party that has a lot of issues, then there will be a problem. So I want to implore APC to create a level playing field for every aspirant to contest. I mean, if for some people who are lobbying for, consensus candidacy, I mean, if you are that good, if you are that sure of what you have for the people,
you should still be able to
try
win
it open.
in the primaries.
I could remember I watched a video of Senator Solomon Olamide Yayi. He mentioned that, yes, I've been endorsed as the candidate. In fact, I think yesterday, Senator Gbenga Daniel still mentioned it, that since the creation of Ogun State, Ogun West has never produced a governor. And that is why they are all throwing their weight behind Senator Olamide Yayi to come now. And he made mention of it by himself that, look, I might have been endorsed, but I'm still open to primaries. If there's anyone that feels like you don't want to believe in this system that produced me as the consensus candidate, let's go to the field. And if I lose, I will assume, I will understand that I lost gallantly. So I think by that, even people who want to contest against him will have to sit tight and say, look, well, maybe we should just because you don't know why this person is saying, let's go to field. Because, of course, all the leaders are behind him. It will just be a few people, and that will be easy to determine when, by 12 o'clock, the primary has ended, and then it will be declared winner. Also in Lagos, when Obafemi Hamzat, Kadri Hamzat, was endorsed, even by the president, and there was Ajose Mawuyan from Badagry Axis said, look, I'm not backing down. And Hamzat said, look, I've been endorsed. But we are still going to primaries. If there's anyone that feels like my endorsement, has a little bit of a K-leg, then let's go to the primary election and let's decide. You could remember even when Sanwo-Olu was to be brought in as governor of Lagos State, he took the seat of former governor of Lagos State, and that is talking about Ambode. And when Ambode said, look, it cannot happen, they went to primaries. And the sitting governor lost at the primary at the polls in the primary election within their political party. So what I'm trying to say is, if you are that good and you are that sure of yourself, I mean, there's no point lobbying for, people would love to do it, but there's no point lobbying for consensus candidacy. Go to the primaries and show them what you are capable of. In fact, that will build credibility for you going into the next election, because people now know that you are strong as a candidate. I was watching a video very quickly before we leave, a video yesterday, and someone said, look, I think that was... I forgot this actor's name, who was always with Peter Obi. I will remember his name. Kenneth Okonkwo. He said, look, the reason why he likes Tinubu was because he was not the candidate of the president, he was not the candidate of the leaders in his own political party, but what he told them was, it is my turn. And if you truly want us to have a free and fair election, let's go to primaries. And by the time they went to primaries, this man won the primary election. And that paved the way for him to win the general election. So if you are that good and you feel like you have what it takes, then go to primaries and see what will happen.
So very quickly, I just want to speak to something, right? You see, when we say that it is okay for people to stay in office for 40, 50 years, how democratic is that? And it is the same people that come out to say, oh, let the youth come and participate in politics. It doesn't really, it's not clear to me. Because comparing Nigeria with other countries is excellent. But if people stay in office for 40, 50 years, it doesn't mean it's the standard. Because when you listen to some youth, the reason why they will not join politics is because the elderly ones are sitting tight, who have served for years. So there's no room for them to come in. It's not democratic. See, this is okay. If the people accept you to keep contesting, excellent. They want you to come back, that's excellent. But then, if people are saying it's time for you to leave, maybe it's time for you to just listen to them. So people, I remember even African leaders, some have been in office for 40, 50 years. And it doesn't make any sense to me. Because are you saying that there are no other people, younger persons, or even elderly people apart from you that can rule the people well? How can one person be in office for 40 years? It really is not clear to me. It's good for people to accept you, to say, come and contest. But is that democratic? Are you giving room for other people to serve? Because at the end of the day, you are not the only right person or the best person for the post in the country. So in a way to encourage the youth to also participate in politics, we must give room for the younger ones to also venture into politics. Not because you are not good, but because at some point you should step down. If people really want you, you can still continue, basically.
Well, quite importantly, it is worthy of note that as long as I mentioned earlier that is the sinner climb that some people talk about, and we still have people who have been in the office for 41 years, 50 years, and thereabouts. So it's not about if you truly want to stay there. It's about, well, sometimes people might want you to contest, and you say, no, I think I am done. I've offered what I think I can offer you, and I want to leave this office while the ovation is still, the loudest. But unfortunately, some people, they are not really satisfied with what they have achieved. They are usually wanting more. And by the time you keep going and going, then you really don't understand what will happen at the end of the day. But this is Africa, where we abuse everything and anything, especially situations where we have to adjust to the rules just to suit one person. You could remember what happened between Senator Adams Oshiomhole and Senator Godswill Akpabio on the floor of the House. Say, look, you cannot keep tightening the rules because you want it to favor you. By the time you come back in the next election, you have to leave it open. And till now, they are still dragging and dragging. In the last few days, I've seen Senator Adams Oshiomhole on 3 or 4, 5 different national TV, talking about this thing. But away from there, we have to take weather report this morning.
Right, and the system should stop enabling, people commit all sort of aberration.
You should.
It's
about the rules.
For 40 years.
It's about the rules on the floor.
At best.
Okay, Senator, you cannot stop senators from continuing. Okay, there is no rule that says you can, after so number of tenure, you cannot. I think Senator David Mark was there for 24 years or thereabouts. Yeah. In fact, he was Senate President for 8 years or thereabouts. So people,
as I'm saying, that's the problem. We keep referring to people who were there for 24 years, but democratically, were they supposed to be there for up to 40, 20 years? That's the issue.
That's okay. If you want to talk about democracy, this is what democracy brings. Because democracy gives you the opportunity to go to the floor of the House and make your own rules. These rules they have made says a senator can return as many times as he wants. Until the people say they no longer need you. Exactly. So if you now want to change this, prepare a bill that you can take to the floor of the House and tell them, once you have done 2 terms as a senator, don't come back again. Once you have done 3 terms as a senator, or maybe a House of Reps member, that will put an end to people staying there for 30 years or 40 years. You understand what I'm trying to say now? So it's not about the people now. It's about the Constitution. Exactly. So the definition of our own Constitution, democracy in Nigeria, is that a senator can be there for as long. In fact, there is a rule that says once a senator, that you are always a senator. So whether you have been out of office for the last 40 years, in fact, if you are a senator for one day, you will continue to be a senator for life.
And if people want you to be there, they want you to come back, excellent. But if not, you should actually speak to yourself.
How do you now tell if they don't want them to come back? That's the big problem, because the process that brings this, they all go through the election process, regardless of how crooked those elections might be. But at least they go through elections. So the people have the opportunity to stop them now in 2027. Don't come back. And that's the basic thing you can do. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll continue to go through this same process. Right. Away from there, we are taking weather report this morning. Let's help you plan your day. And we'll be starting with the ancient metropolitan city of hospitality, Ibadan. And in Ibadan, as we speak, weather is currently at 25 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning, it will rise to 28 degrees Celsius. It will be cloudy with humidity at 15%. And there will be a slight increase to 29 degrees Celsius later in the afternoon. With the promise of scattered thunderstorms, humidity will climb as high as 40%. There will be a drop in the evening. It will be mostly cloudy at 26 degrees Celsius. Humidity comes as low as 4%, while overnight it will drop further to 24 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy with humidity at 3% right there in Ibadan today.
And from Ibadan, we cross to Ekiti Southwest. Weather in Ekiti feels like 23 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 27 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 14%, and in the afternoon it will remain at 27 degrees Celsius, scattered thunderstorms around 46%, and in the evening it drops to 24 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 3%, and overnight it drops to 23 degrees Celsius, foggy around 3%, and that's what we have for Ekiti Southwest this morning.
And from Ekiti now to Lagos, the weather feels like 31 degrees Celsius across board. In the morning, 29 degrees Celsius is what it started with a promise of showers at 53% humidity. Also in the afternoon, just 1 degree Celsius increase to 30 degrees Celsius, but there will still be few showers expected in Lagos today. And in the evening, it will drop down to 28 degrees Celsius, dropping 2 degrees Celsius to become mostly cloudy. And it will still be mostly cloudy overnight at 26 degrees Celsius, although a 2 degrees Celsius drop to become mostly cloudy at 14% humidity in Lagos today.
All right, away from Lagos, let's go straight to Ogun State. And right now in Abeokuta, Ogun State, weather is currently at 25 degrees Celsius. And just like Ibadan, it will rise by 3 degrees Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius later in the morning. It will be cloudy and humidity will be at 14%. It will remain cloudy in the afternoon as there will be a 2 degrees Celsius increase to 30 degrees Celsius, and humidity will be at 22% in the afternoon. By evening, there will be a drop to 26 degrees Celsius. It will be mostly cloudy, humidity at 3%. Humidity maintains 3% overnight, and it will be partly cloudy with weather at 25 degrees Celsius in Abeokuta, Ogun State today.
And also from Abeokuta, we cross to Port Harcourt rivers, and weather in Port Harcourt feels like 22 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning is expected to be around 26 degrees Celsius, showers around 65%. And the afternoon, it drops to 27 degrees Celsius and cloudy around 24%. And in the evening, it drops to 23 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 12%. And overnight, it drops to 21 degrees Celsius, foggy around 3%. And that's what we have for Port Harcourt this morning.
And there will be mild variations across the weather pattern today in the largest state in the country, that's Niger State, Suleja. The weather will be cloudy at 25 degrees Celsius. In the morning, 28 degrees Celsius, expected to be cloudy. And in the afternoon, it rises by just 4 degrees Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius to become partly cloudy. And it will go back to 27 degrees Celsius, dropping about 5 degrees Celsius to become mostly cloudy. And then 2 degrees Celsius decrease to 25 degrees Celsius overnight. Expected to be mostly cloudy across the Niger State today. All
right, I think that's all we can take on weather reports this morning. We say thank you for being a part of the show so far. Do well to link up with us on all socials, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast. And on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. You can watch us live on our website at www.dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. It is time to go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll take you news. We'll be back.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Glad to have you here. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television, Ibadan. Amuluayemi Adelakun. President Bola Tinubu has invited Guinea's President Mamadi Doumbouya for a state visit to Nigeria. The invitation followed the bilateral meeting between both leaders on the sidelines of the Africa CEO Forum in Kigali, Rwanda. Presidential spokesman Sunday Dari said the talks focus on strengthening cooperation between Nigeria and Guinea, especially in the minerals and metals sector. He added that President Doumbouya welcomed the invitation and is expected to visit Abuja soon. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has urged state government to begin proactive measures against flooding ahead of the 2026 rainy season. NEMA said more than 30 states are at risk of serious flooding and called for the enforcement of environmental sanitation, regular clearing of drainages, and improved emergency response systems. The agency also announced the development of a climate-related risk management and flood preparedness framework to reduce disaster impact nationwide. Director General of NEMA, Zabadi Umar, appealed to traditional rulers, religious groups, the media and community organizations to support flood awareness campaigns. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has declared his intention to contest for the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria under the newly formed alliance between the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the Allied People's Movement, APM. Governor Makinde made a declaration at a mega rally held at Maputo to officially announce the alliance between the PDP and APM ahead of the 2027 general elections. Our correspondent Damlola Daudu reports.
Mopo All in Ibadan became a major political hub as members of the People's Democratic Party, the Allied People's Movement, and supporters from different groups gathered in large numbers to witness the alliance between the two parties ahead of the 2027 general election. Speaking at the rally, Governor Seyi Makinde described the alliance between the PDP and APM as a strategic move towards building a stronger coalition capable of providing alternative leadership for the country. Describing the development as historic, the governor said the alliance will field candidates for various election positions from the presidencies to state assemblies.
Today, history is being made. I pronounce today the birth of Reset Nigeria movement. The time to reset Nigeria is now. We will field candidates from presidency to state assembly and everything in between. Therefore today, I, Oluseyi Abiodun Makinde, FNSC, announce my candidacy for the position of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
In their separate remarks, the national chairman of the Allied People's Movement, Dr. Yusuf Dantale, a member of the PDP Board of Trustees, Honorable Ali Odefa, the national secretary of the APM, Honorable Oyadayi Ayodele, and Oluseye Okpatoki, commended the development stride of Governor Seyi Makinde. They stated that the alliance between the APM and PDP was aimed at restoring the pride of Nigerians and strengthening democracy in the country.
We are happy. His Excellency has chosen a good choice. APM and PDP alliance, perfect.
Also speaking, the senatorial candidate Olufemi Ajadi Oguntoyibo said the inability of the ruling party at the national level to fulfill its promises to Nigerians informed the decision of the parties to form an alliance aimed at delivering the needed change in the country. He added that his candidacy will further advance the objective of the coalition.
With APM and PDP, it's a great one because when they plan all their plan, believing that democracy will not exist, God has made every possibility best to make a provision.
Earlier, leaders of the People's Democratic Party and the Allied People's Movement signed and presented a memorandum of understanding at the PDP Southwest Secretariat Soji Adagunodo House, Old Ife Road, Ibadan. Damilola Daudu reporting for Dominion News.
Meanwhile, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Yasim Wike, has said the presidential ambition of the Yorsi governor, Shea Makinde, is dead on arrival. Wike made the remark while reacting to Makinde's declaration to contest the presidency on the platform of the Allied People's Movement, following an alliance with a faction of the People's Democratic Party. The FCT minister claimed Makinde's political move was aimed at actualizing his presidential ambition, insisting he could not emerge as the PDP candidate. It further reacted to comments surrounding Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara, saying the governor had not asked anyone to pity him over his political situation. The Independent National Electoral Commission has called for stronger collaboration with political parties and the media ahead of the June 28th governorship election in Ekiti State. Speaking at a policy dialogue in Ado-Ekiti, the resident electoral commissioner, Bumi Omoshedemi, said the media and political parties play key roles in promoting voter participation and public confidence. He urged stakeholders to discourage misinformation and support peaceful, credible and transparent elections. The acting Director General of the Electoral Institute, Ibrahim Sani, also stressed the need for accountability, inclusion and public trust in Nigeria's democratic process. Former Ndosi Governor Olusegun Mimiko has officially joined the All Progressives Congress, APC. Mimiko was received into the ruling party at the APC Secretariat in Ondo West local government area. The former governor said he joined the APC to support President Bola Tinubu and contribute to Nigeria's development. He praised the administration's student loan initiative and ongoing effort toward state policing reforms. Ondo APC Chairman Kolawole Babatunde described Mimiko's defection as a homecoming, while former lawmaker Joseph Akinlade said the move strengthens the party ahead of future elections. And in business, President of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has said his company rejected attempt by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to increase its 7.25% stake in the Dangote Petroleum Refinery. Dangote said the decision was taken because the refinery plans to go public and allow more Nigerians to own shares in the business. Speaking in an interview with the Chief Executive Officer of the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund, he also cited government policy inconsistency as a major risk to businesses in Nigeria. Dangote also mentioned that future investors in the company's businesses will receive dividends in dollars due to its growing export earnings. And in sport, Tobi Amusa has won a historic third consecutive African gold medal in the women's 100 meters orders at the African Championships in Accra, Ghana. The world record holder finished first in 12.83 seconds ahead of Zimbabwe's Ashley Miller, while Nigeria's Adaobi Tabubo claimed bronze. Amusa's latest victory further strengthens her dominance in African athletics and adds another major title to a growing legacy. The championship was held at the University of Ghana Stadium in Accra. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cast. And that ends Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun saying thank you for watching and good morning.
I bet you know that it is no longer news that the executive governor for your state, Engineer Sheyi Makinde, has declared intention to run for presidency in the country. You've seen that in the news, and of course, it's still making the rounds across the newspapers this morning. Of course, thank you for staying with us. This is the newspaper headlines and analysis segment of Daybreak Live Extra, where we check into the print and bring you stories that are breaking and developing across the country. That is of interest to many people. Some have been saying before now that is there a chance that Governor Sheyi Makinde is also trying to do something at the presidential level? Anyway, under the platform of the APM, PDP, he said something is key, that unity is what they want to, foster, especially against the one-party state system that is being practiced or allegedly practiced in the country. But that's also one of the stories and conversations on the front pages of the newspapers, particularly the Nigerian Tribune. He has the bold inscription. This one says, Makinde declares for presidency. That's on page 2. Calls for national unity against one-party rule at massive PDP APM rally. That is also a conversation. Meanwhile, there's a sequel to this, and the sequel is that Nyesom Wike said that it is a dead on arrival goal. That it is not even a goal. It's not going to be welcome because there's no alliance between any APM and PDP. Meanwhile, some people have the opinion that if this works, perhaps this could also, be a way for the PDP to come back to life. Others are saying like the coalition might help, take away the current administration. But all of that, we'll still keep our fingers crossed and see in the course of time what becomes of all of these stories. Meanwhile, other stories are still making the rounds, particularly about the APC now. APC primaries, Tinubu cautions party leadership, governors urges fair contest. That's the conversation right there. Crisis rocks or your APC secretariats attacked over alleged imposition of candidates. That is also on the flip side of things on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. Different things, many people coming for the same interest. The APC has its own side of the cake to eat now. So it's becoming a thing for them now to say, how will they address this situation? We have so many political warlords, so many political giants in the party with just limited positions and power positions in the country. How will they share that without hurting somebody or without taking from another person? But the case is still ongoing, and it's about the forthcoming election 2027. All fingers crossed, all eyes on the electorate, the election, and every of the whole issue around what's going to happen with parties, and then of course with the Independent National Electoral Commission, that's INEC, and every other body that's supposed to man and do one thing or the other in the elections. Now, moving on from that story, ADC faults federal government's move to seek fresh $1.25 billion World Bank loan, and I think we had the conversation just a couple of days ago that is totally into about 1.92 trillion naira in Nigerian naira, and that is a lot of money for Nigeria to borrow at this time when the country is already in a debt situation that is almost at the neck region for the country. So there's been conversations about, well, we don't mind if you borrow for the right reasons, but are we sure there's going to be transparency, accountability, and the right use of the money you are borrowing? And that's a question to the current administration that they need to answer. And of course, we'll keep tabs on that as well. Still tracking stories are breaking and developing across the newspapers. I'll move on to the Daily Sun newspaper very briefly. It has the front caption saying, federal government considers new strategies to fight terrorists and bandits. That is something to deploy artificial intelligence, that's AI, anti-drone technology for military operations. A lot of developments around that sector, talking security in the country. Daily Sun has that big story if you want to check on page 4. Federal government considers new strategies to fight terrorists and bandits. Also, a story on the top side of Daily Sun newspaper reads, Presidency says, even with gun to my head to stay on, I'll leave after 4 years. That's Peter Obi coming out to say that even if there's a gun, even if there's a compulsion for him to stay after 4 years, he will leave. But, I think we've seen some presidents and maybe governors say this before. I just need 4 terms and I'll be gone. And eventually, the taste of power is sweet, it's delicious. And so sometimes when you get into power, some of the things you say you wanted to do, you might just forget them and just develop an instant amnesia, or you begin to forget the things you've said before. But is that going to be the case? Let's wait and see. Meanwhile, other stories, Tinubu urges consensus, peace, women youth inclusion as APC's primaries kick off. So that is something to look out for as we track the stories much more further. Moving on from that now to this day newspaper, it takes the Makinde story as the biggest caption. It says, Makinde takes 2027 election party to Tinubu in Southwest, declares for presidency. Makinde takes 2027 election party to Tinubu in Southwest, declares for presidency, calls for national unity against one-party rule at PDP APM rally, says claims that opposition can't unite is miscalculation. Also declares opposition is the everyday Nigerian for whom the nation does not work. Well, so many conversations coming from that sect now. Tinubu seeks fairness as APC begins primaries. Also something to look out for. Elections are fast approaching, knocking on our doors, and it seems like there are a lot of permutations, calculations, and maybe some would say elite imposition, like they say consensus candidacy. But whatever the case would be, we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what becomes of all the parties as we track the elections. Unity Mega Rally Grand Alliance of PDP and APM. It's just like you can see on your screen, you see some leaders also supporting Governor Sheyi Makinde right there on the Tuesday newspaper this morning. But let's take it further away from the shores of the continent now to the world politics to say Xi Jinping says to Trump, US, China should be partners and not rivals. Also on Tuesday newspaper, the top side is it says Washington, Beijing both stand to lose from confrontation, agree that Strait of Hormuz must be open. That is also one of the subwriters under the caption. Xi Jinping saying to Trump, US and China, we should be partners and not rivals. That seems to be the conversation right there for talking world power and the whole situation around the Strait of Hormuz as we have it now. Fear grips Nigerians, others as South Africa protesters issue illegal immigrants June 30 deadline to leave. Very, very, very shocking. Meanwhile, well, maybe some people would say it's not shocking because we've seen the progression of things, but we are still waiting for the South African government to do what is right by the people. And that's about fear gripping Nigerians and others as South Africa protesters issue illegal immigrant June 30 deadline to leave. That's on New Telegraph newspaper this morning. It's a fast caption that you might want to check out. This one on page 4 of New Telegraph this morning. Tinubu says Nigeria will attract almost $20 billion in foreign investment this year. It is one thing maybe to say, it's another to become a reality. But the president has come out to say this time around to say, you guys, you know what? Nigeria will attract $20 billion in foreign investment this year. And some would say amen. Maybe that would be the prayer for many persons to say amen to. But of course, so many other stories are still making the rounds, but we have to check into some of them as they break much further, particularly in Oyo State and maybe to the national level as well, to say, to talk about the issues that we have across the country. But of course, this is where I get to shelve this segment of the newspaper headlines and analysis, because we have subsequent broadcast, newscasts, and other programs that will still inform you and get you abreast of every development we have in the country, because we have to go on a very quick break. When we come back, with Daybreak Live, we'll continue with the big story with Samson Balogun. Stay with us.
morning and welcome to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television once again in Ibadan. I am Samson Balogun and this is the big story. The political atmosphere in Nigeria is already heating up ahead of 2027. And one name that continues to dominate conversations across the Southwest and beyond is Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State. Well, from infrastructural projects to political alliances and strategic appearances on the national stage, many observers believe the Oyo State governor may be positioning himself for a possible presidential bid. Well, he declared yesterday. But the big question remains, is Governor Makinde truly preparing to challenge the ruling APC's long-standing dominance in the Southwest and at the national level? Or is this political movement simply a calculated strategy to strengthen and position loyalists ahead of the next electoral cycle? This morning, we'll examine the political signals, the possible implications for the PDP, the reactions within the APC, and what this could mean for the future of Southwest politics and Nigeria's presidential race. And joining us to dissect this important conversation is public affairs analyst Afolami. And I am Samson Balogun. Thank you for joining us. Politics in Nigeria is rarely without strategy, timing, and symbolism. In recent months, Governor Seyi Makinde has increasingly found himself at the center of national political discourse, from struggles of PDP to the alliance with APM, from coalition talks and opposition realignment to discussions about leadership beyond Oyo State. For some, his growing influence represents a fresh political alternative capable of redefining opposition politics and challenging the APC's grip on the Southwest. For others, however, the conversation around a presidential ambition may be more tactical than realistic. A means to negotiate relevance, consolidate influence, and prepare the political ground for trusted allies seeking elective offices in 2027. Can Makinde truly unite opposition forces across regions? Does it possess the political structure and national appeal needed for a presidential contest? Don't forget we have 6 geopolitical zones. Southwest is just one of them. And how would such an ambition reshape the political calculations of both the PDP and APC in Southwest? Well, let's include ADC and NDC too. These are some of the critical issues we'll explore on the big story this morning. We say thank you for joining us. And I have the honor of having in the studio with me this morning, Afolami. Thank you for joining us on this one.
Good to be here, my brother. Good morning, Nigerians. Happy Friday.
Well, it is Friday, actually. We must say welcome to the weekend.
Yes.
But the headlines are not slowing down. Headlines are not going on weekends. They are still reshaping every now and then. There are so many things to talk about this morning. Well, let's talk about the declaration of Governor Seyi Makinde to run for office in 2027. But before that, let's listen to him speak about it yesterday. He made some very important points that Nigerians really need to look at and, maybe
dissect.
Have some thoughts over. We'll be back after this break. Let's listen to Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State.
In their separate remarks, the national chairman of the...
All right, welcome back from that one. The governor said the time to reset Nigeria is now. Afolabi. What would you make of the so-called PDP-APM alliance? And what does this mean for PDP as a political party? Before we talk about APC, what does this alliance mean for PDP as a political party? Yesterday in Yesom Wike, the Minister of the FCC said, this presidential bid of Governor Seyi Makinde is dead on arrival. And some of them are distancing, especially PDP in Oyo State and at the national level, they are distancing themselves away from any alliance from APM. They are saying, look, we have nothing to do with APM. The PDP is still a political party that is ready to fuel the presidential candidate in 2027.
Oh, well, I want to first congratulate the Excellency Engineer Seyi Makinde, who has taken the bull by the horn to come out and declare the ambition to run for the presidency. And I think that is very well good, because it's not very fair when we talk about democracy and we tend to have just one person running. It's not good enough. Even if we are not, if the person will not win, I'm not saying that it's not stationed not to win, but the fact remains that we just need to have contestants on board, not just one person running the race, and we want to believe, because it looks like a threat to all other parties that you cannot produce a presidential ambition or a presidential candidate, and that is also another redesigning movement for the political parties in Nigeria. APM before now is one of the parties that is not heard of, is one party that people hardly talk about, is one party that people even do not know the origin and their members even in Oyo State. And I tell you that if this happen right now, it will give popularity to the party, it will give a sense of belonging to the party, that is the APM. The alliance, we're talking about the alliance. I think Seyi Makinde, that's the Excellency, have gone deeply down to see what may happen if he found himself on the platform of the PDP, and if he retained himself and his candidacy on the PDP. So the alliance is just a kind of bringing himself into the board, bringing the party members into the board in alliance with the APM. APM may not have a wider coverage. They may not have the people in all the nooks and corners of the state, but the PDP has. They have it, and they so believe in the Excellency, the number one person in your state, Seyi Makinde, as their leader. And if Seyi Makinde is now pulling out or bringing those people into such alliance, I think that will work. That will work in the sense that it will become a stage where you want to contest. People are not just looking for ADC, APC, and DPM, whatsoever. But right now, we're having more people to contend with.
Okay, how serious should people take this presidential ambition of Governor Seyi Makinde come 2027?
I wouldn't want to downline the ambition, because everybody has the right to vote and be voted for. And so be it, if the governor says he's contesting, like the sitting president is contesting, she knows that. I don't want us to just throw it under the carpet just like that. But notwithstanding, there is more to do. There is more to do, and that was why I started with the alliance itself. The party is contesting under the platform at which it's contesting on. It's not contesting on the platform of PDP, you know. It's contesting on the platform of APM, and that means that the party needs to do some work to get the people understand who APM is, who are the people in APM, what is APM all about, to sell out the name, to make the name an household name, to make it popular, to give it a wider coverage, to let people know, not even in Oyo State, because Oyo State alone will not win the presidency. Oyo State alone will not present a candidate, and you expect the remaining 35 local states in Nigeria to be idle when you are just declaring in your corner here. So it means that they need to do more.
So now that you mentioned that, declaring in one corner, which is Oyo State, using your word, do you see this as a serious or genuine presidential bid, or just a tactical move or political arrangement to give his own followers some sort of leverage going into the next election?
Well, man, the governor is a politician, and in politics, nothing is impossible. One, if the Seyi Makinde, as I know, felt that he should just relax at home, there is no platform to declare on any platform, the people he's presenting will not have good leverage. They will not have good strength. They will not have any backup. They will not have enough backup. People will look at them as your party does not have a presidential candidate. And so what are you contesting on? on the senator, on the State of Assembly.
So we should not take Governor Seyi Makinde serious.
No.
We should just talk about the other people is giving
No,
level.
my brother. We should also see take him serious. Taking him serious depending on how far they will go, how far they are able to sell the name of the party, how far they are able to go across board, living beyond their shore, go to other states. Let's see how they can be acceptable in Adamawa, in Borno, in Kogi, you know, in Delta. How will they be acceptable in Enugu, in Ebonyi, in Abia? These are the things that would matter. But it is one, to the people that is presenting in the state. Two, to himself that is contesting. Remember that even having contested or contesting on this platform and bidding for the presidency is also an opportunity to showcase yourself in the future. You know, the stage of those who we know contesting is already fading away. The likes of Atiku may not come back again in 2027. The likes
He mentioned that he was throwing his last dice.
He may not come back again after 2027. Tinubu that is on the seat right now will not be able to come back after 2027. So who are we going to be looking up to?
So are you saying Governor Seyi Makinde is only doing this to position himself for something that might happen in the future?
One of those things is a way to position himself, a way to showcase his zeal, his capacity, his ambition, a way to prepare himself for the future challenge.
Some say he's the first person originally from Oyo State declaring his ambition to run for president.
And that is very good for him.
So he's writing history.
He's writing history. He has not only wrote that under the presidency, he has also become the first person to merge the two parties together. To say APM, PDP.
Someone wrote an article, I think that was Michael. Michael said, even the gods do not have two political parties. But there's one man, Seyi Makinde, that has two political parties, PDP and APM at the same time. Are you of the same school of thought?
I'm of the same school of thought, because that is brilliant too. That tells you that we still have brilliant people. And that is where I tell people that there are some textbooks that should have been taken away from our system. The old government textbook does not matter anymore. Where we read the lives of the 1963, 1966. Let's talk about the wicked policy. Let's talk about the Seyi Makinde kind of theory. Let's talk about the wicked theory, the Seyi Makinde theory, the Tinubu's theory of consensus, domineering and dominating in politics, money bags.
Let's talk about national spread. Does Seyi Makinde of Oyo State have the structure and the dominance to have that national spread you'll be looking for in the next election?
It does not. But that does not mean Abga also when Ojukwu was alive, he contested under Abga as a presidential candidate. Definitely, despite the fact that they only have the only Imo State or the Anambra, the eastern state. But till date, you can see that Abga still maintain their state, even though they claim that they are widely spread, and they have some members in Oyo State too. I know of a man who said he was a member of the Abga one time, but I tell you that if Seyi is starting like this, it's a very good theory too. It's a theory that we can learn from, a theory that tells you that even when a party look very threatening and they are looking like they are going to die, somebody can come up and fuse two parties together, form an alliance, put up a boss, and they can still rule again. If Seyi Makinde has not done this, I tell you, his candidate that is presenting yesterday would not have a good leverage to work on. They do not have a good leverage to be able to practicalize what they have in ambition, because they're already coming out dead. They're already coming out dead when they don't have a party party platform to run on. And if the governor decide to to walk behind them, it looks like they are just like they're just walking alone, and they may not have a sound footing. So, but Seyi Makinde declaring himself as the president, telling us that yes, he's coming out as the president, he's going to run for the 2027 election as the president, then let us now leave him to see how far he can go. We talked about the other states. Ogun State, do we have APM in Ogun State? Are they contesting there too? Do you have any members there? These are what we want to look at.
Okay, if you are talking about APM in other states, the Southwest is one of the geopolitical zones the APC will be banking on going into the next general elections. Because as it stands, yes, they lost for the presidential election, they lost Lagos in the last general election. But in Oyo State, they did quite well. Ogun, Ondo, and Ekiti too. And they will be banking on the same level of results, if not more, in the next general election. Now that Seyi Makinde of Oyo State has said, look, I want to break this massive dominance. Some have said that it is not just about Seyi Makinde.
Yes.
The alliance which was made in Ibadan,
Yes.
where some stakeholders came on board and had discussions, is still in play. That the goal for Seyi Makinde is to break Tinubu's vote in the southwest.
Sure.
Is that true?
Yes, it's true. One of the key areas where the governor of the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will be losing for 2027 is Oyo State, because the alliance that fused them together, that made them to call the PDAPM or PDAPC,
PDAPC, now PDAPM.
now PDAPM will not be there anymore. And also understand that Seyi Makinde now understand politics better than 2023 when he just came on board 2019. You understand better that though you may have some alliance with some people, you don't need to rely more on them. But right now, we can see that even in the APC that we are talking about, are the house still in order? If the house is not going to be in order between now and the next 1 week, then you should be assured. I want to beat it on the table now that the APM that we're looking up, that just gave back to yesterday, will come out to rule the state again. And that will be the influence of the sitting governor, who understand politics more better right now. You have understood that the best way for him to play his dice or to play his chess is to come out and present himself as a candidate. That will declare him outrightly out of the system that brought the last presidential candidate in. Then we have the likes of Tinubu coming on board. Atiku could not stay. Atiku could not come back and contest and campaign because he was not there. So this time around, he will be campaigning in his own state, and all his candidates will be following him around. But I tell you, it's a redefining moment. We are redefining the politics of Nigeria through this system. Yesterday, Nigeria just got another history busted out, and that history is that it is possible for a sitting governor to redefine the political arena, to bring in a new shape, because everybody was aware that PDP is already died. It's already dead. Some people are bent at killing the party, and if that happens,
is the PDP dead?
PDP is dead. PDP is dead, except the way and manner Seyi Makinde brought it up yesterday. Before yesterday, PDP is dead. We all know that. And
so that the alliance yesterday, which was announced by Governor Seyi Makinde, is the final nail that for PDP's coffin.
It's the final nail, and also is also a resuscitating effort to bring out the party member. It's not the name of it's not the party.
So was that an attempt by him to migrate members of the PDP to APM?
That is just it. That was the beautiful thing that he was able to do yesterday. Because losing his member is just like when a house is about to collapse, you have a secondary school, and somebody you rented a place for a secondary school, and the owner suddenly comes up because you are making money that is going to take over his building. And you know that if you take over his building, the children will go. You will lose all the students. What you need to do is to get a very good place, better than that particular place, for all the children and the parents to be assured that their wards are safe. And that was what Seyi Makinde did yesterday. He quickly brought up an alliance. He did the merger so very well, so that there is no court in Nigeria that will go against it. At the end of the day, the people there in PDP will be merging automatically into APM to go and contest. What they just need to do now is to do more on publicity, do more on campaign, do more on awareness. Let people know the name. Let the name become an household name. If Seyi Makinde can, tighten up some
loose ends.
Some losing end, he will gain his strength again in Oyo State.
Okay, now let's take a look at the vote spread in the last general election, presidential election. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC had 8.7 million, roughly 8.8 million votes, and that was 36.61% of the total votes. And Atiku Abubakar of the PDP had 6.9 million votes, and that's roughly 7 million votes. Yeah. And he had about 29.07% of the total votes. Peter Obi of Labour Party had 6.1 million votes, and he had about 25.40% of the votes. And Rabi Musa Kwankwaso had 1.4, almost 1.5 million votes, and was about 6.23% of the votes. Now, the other candidates all put together had 2.7% of the votes, and that will be around 640,000 votes in total. Now, as it stands, with the current structure of some political parties in Nigeria, yes, if you are saying Seyi Makinde in APM, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in APC, Atiku Abubakar
ADC.
in ADC by projection
Yes.
anyway, and
Obi
Kwakwaso in NDC. And which other political party?
We are waiting for NDP.
NDP to announce their political
candidates.
So let's put all of them on the table. Are we still going to find this kind of vote are we still going to find the same pattern, or there will be a shift in the voting pattern for presidential election in 2027?
There's going to be a shift. First, let us look at the state that generated this number. The Lagos state, the president lost out.
Right, he lost in Lagos.
In Oyo state, he won massively well. In Ogun state, he won massively well. In Ondo state, he won massively well. He lost out in Osun. The vote was not there because the man there delivered for PDP. In Ekiti, in Ondo, you look at in that circle.
The margin was not that much, but of course they were able to.
But he won massively well in Oyo state. This time around, the calculation may not be the same. The calculation may not be the same if all things work together for Seyi Makinde. But if, in the other hand, well, it may win. But when it comes to the states, there will be a big tussle. It will be a fight for all. It will be a kind of calculation that we may come back on our table to start resetting. And that is where I see a redefining moment, like as announced by the sitting governor of your state, Honorable Seyi Makinde, who said that it is not very fine enough to have one-party system. We are drilling into a one-party system when we see a threat from another party, the sitting party, telling us that at a point, even ADC is still not having it very fine at the judiciary. You understand? And that is where we may not, they may still have problems. But the likes of Atiku may not have the numbers that he intends to get, because Kwakwaso will be dividing the vote in the north.
Is that in favor of the president?
Yes, it's going to be in the favor of the president. Because the more they look
but he contested in the last election.
Look at
how well did he do?
Look at the statistics you read out. If those statistics were put together, the president would have been the loser. If those statistics,
if they were all on the same page.
If they are all on the same page, they will not have the Bola Ahmed Tinubu that we have today.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at that time won 12 states. Atiku Abubakar won 12 states. Peter Obi won 11 states. Warabi Musa Kwakwaso won only Kano.
Now, if we put all that together, the president that is sitting right now will not be there. And that is where I tell people that it's a matter of dividing the votes. It's a matter of dividing and making it sure that even if I will not lose here, if I will lose here, I will win here. And we are not talking about two-thirds anymore, because the two-thirds did not happen in the last election. We expect the third to come up because part of the referendum was, if you have to win as a president, the Federal Capital Territory must be a seat. It must be included. But that does not happen. The Federal Capital Territory, the president
was won by Labour Party.
Was won by Labour Party. And right now they're having a problem. Now the Labour Party is no more. All of them has decamped to ADC. Many of them are also decamped to PDP. NDC. And some have remained in APC. The last election they did for the FCT municipal election was all won by APC.
5 for APC, 1 for PDP.
And that PDP man was for just to showcase that. So that tells you that the next election will just be declared for the president. So
okay, now let's look at these statistics in a few minutes before we go. Nigeria, as of now, we have about nearly 94 million registered voters. And in the last election, the total valid votes they had was 24 million votes. Was about 24 million. The turnout will be around 27% of the total registered voters. And the APC margin over PDP at that time was about 1.8 million votes. And if you look at the statistics now, with more registered voters as the continuous registration process is going on with INEC, you can now register. If you don't have a voter's card, you can go register now. So as it continues, do you think the newly registered voters, okay, do you think, where would they swing going to the next election?
First, the voting pattern in Nigeria is declining since 1999.
1999. That's continued to drop. And I see it dropping more in this coming election. Why will it drop more? The facilities, the provisions, the promises
of these ruling parties were not met. What they promised, people don't get it. People are not being encouraged. Imagine right now, Nigerians are buying petroleum petroleum at 1,400, 1,700 in some states. And as at the time we are coming into the democracy, it was 56, 57. At the 2015, it was 97. By 2016, it was 102, 140, 150. And as it is right now, it is over 1,000. So that tells you that, and we don't really have protests anymore. People don't go out and protest like it was before, because those who led protests then are in government now. And because they are in government now, they know how best to kill any protest that may come up on board. But the people that matters, the citizens, those who are feeling the feedback of government policies and projects, are the ones that will go and vote. And so they are not happy, and they are not feeling it. They are not finding it easy at all. This is why we see increase in all sorts of crimes, all kind of burglary, stealing, theft, everything that we can mention. But the truth is, will they be able to go to the poll to vote? They are not going. I'll tell you that. I've sampled opinions. I've met with people. I've met with groups. People are even trying to get their voter's card, not for the purpose of voting, but for the purpose of maybe future. My son may need to enter university. They want to ask for this or that so I can present it. Or they want to register. They want to open an account in bank. They think they will need this. That is where. So
just before we go in 30 seconds, if there is voter party in 2027, who will profit or benefit more?
Well, I want us to pause on that because events are still unfolding. We just saw one that happened yesterday at the APC secretariat. So to predict that right now may be too early. Let's still wait. Tomorrow is not certain. Let's see what happens.
Thank you, Afolabi, for joining us on the show this morning. It has been a wonderful session with you.
Thank you for having me. I'll be glad to come again.
All right. It has been an insightful and thought-provoking conversation on the big story this morning as we examined the political permutations surrounding Governor Seyi Makinde and the growing discussions about 2027. What that is the emergence of a genuine presidential movement or a broader political strategy aimed at strengthening influence and positioning loyalists. One thing remains certain. The road to 2027 has already begun, and the Southwest will once again play a critical role in shaping Nigeria's political future. Many thanks to our guest this morning, Afolabi, for sharing his perspectives and analysis with us. And to our viewers out there, thank you for staying with us on Daybreak Live Extra on Dominion Television. And this has been the big story. I'm Sam Sibalogu, wishing you a productive and wonderful day ahead. But of course, we'll go on a quick break now. When we return, we'll take a trend watch on this show. Stay informed, stay engaged, and keep having these conversations. right, welcome back from that short break. The show is still Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television, your channel of choice, where inspiration meets entertainment. Well, we are back for Trend Watch, and I have back in the studio Nulu Akpaido and Oluwayemi Adelaku. It is time to take Trend Watch.
So what's trending today? Actually, is it's about police, the Nigerian police. Something to look out today, coming from the IGP particularly. He says Nigeria needs 3,000 new police stations to meet worsening security infrastructure deficit. You know, so it's been a conversation of is that what we need, or we need community policing? Because the conversation has been around community policing being a thing that would help the country, especially as this is the moment that many regions in the country are facing all sorts of insurgents in their regions. And it seems like, oh, where is the way to go? And I was trying to check into data, and I discovered that maybe there's a deficit, and we might as well acknowledge that to be a thing. But much more importantly, what can we do to really tackle the menace of insurgents, the menace of kidnapping and banditry in the country? Is it about building more police stations, or having more trained personnel, or even making community policing a thing? Because if you check the data, you discover, according to the United Nations recommendation, we don't have what it takes for just, I think the recommendation of the UN is just one police officer to about 450 people. But Nigeria, we have like one police officer to the ratio of about 600 to 900 people. So that's like a deficit we can tell in the, well, let's say human resources, and as well as the infrastructure and all of that. So we can say that there's a deficit, but much more importantly, which should come first, community policing or building more police stations in the country? Samson Ayemi.
If you take a look at how things have been in Nigeria recently, it's not out of place for the Inspector General of Police to come out and say we need more. However, Nigeria has about 2,000 facilities across the country, almost 2,000 police stations across the country, which is low according to recommendations by United Nations. And out of this almost 2,000 we are talking about, some of them were built by communities and not government, and not even the police force, meaning that they built the facility and went to the police, please give us officers and to help us in these communities. Some of them are not even police stations yet. They are actually police posts, because there's a difference. Yeah. Okay, so basically, Nigeria has a deficit, and it's not just about number of police stations. Actually, we have a deficit in terms of officers. As it stands, we have about 271,000 police officers who are available for general policing, and about 100,000 of them attached to personnel VIPs across the country. Meaning that as it stands, politicians, governors, lawmakers, business elites, VIP escorts, they carry about 100,000 police officers meant for you and I and some other people out there. We'll not even go there today because that's another topic. But basically, Nigeria has a deficit. And if you are talking about state police in the real sense of it, you can't just you cannot create state police and then tell them to hang around bushes and stay in front of other people's shops. There has to be a level of accommodation. They must be in a place. I mean, you have to find them in a place, which means that Nigeria we have to fill up that deficit and create avenues for them to have places you can find them. You can imagine a whole community of about 7 to 8 villages, and with a town attached to it with just one police station. Before you leave those communities at the other end and go to the main town to report a case, the criminal is probably in the north, has traveled, has left the environment. So I want to believe that he is right, but it's not just about the facility now. It's about creating a new system for the police in Nigeria, which means that there has to be a setup where we have new officers, police attached to local government level. I mean, talking about local policing, and also facilities where you can find them. And not forgetting that they have to have equipment too, because security in Nigeria has gone beyond going about with what Yorubas will call kondo or sticks. Okay, we have gone beyond that level. It is becoming more and more intense when it comes to security crisis in the country, and we should treat it as such.
Yes, so I also think it's a good initiative, basically, to say that we want 3,000, new stations, because I remember the bandits attacked a community, I think around last year, and then the PRO for the state was on national TV, and then when they asked her why it was difficult for the police officers to actually rescue the people, she said the police officers are overstretched. I mean, most of them, few of them, they're available in other places, and so they could not rescue the people. So I think beyond also providing news stations, even the current ones. I remember that Showore, staged a protest last year, and then it was outside to actually canvass for police officers. Some of them, even people who have retired, they are yet to get their money, and even some that are serving. There was a report that some police officers use their salary to buy their own shoes and uniforms. So if you want to create another station and you need to get more people, I remember the president gave a directive that few persons they should start a process of recruiting more police officers. So maybe it's related to this, I really cannot tell. But how are we going to provide for them their salaries, the equipment? Because these people, these bandits, they carry more sophisticated weapons. So it's a good initiative, but then it's not about pumping money, using millions of naira to build new stations. Can we provide for them at the end of the day? Because at the end of the day, we want to nip insecurity in the book. It's very, very important.
We'll just take a few comments, and this is coming from Wild Prince. It says, IGP, you are not being honest. With the level of corruption in that force, they are supposed to be shut down. Boy Scout and Girls Guard should be employed for policing in that country instead. MPF has failed and is still failing. Zero discipline and training.
Well, people have their opinions, but I don't think that is right. And Richard Ode says, then what are we waiting for? Build the stations, recruit more officers. We should not continue in the careless old ways. When a reasonable official or citizen offer a sound suggestion, the government should give it priority and act right. I think he has echoed Yemi's sentiment on this one.
And of course, the final comments for this morning, CT Goes, aka this username, person is saying, if Nigeria needs 3,000 new police stations, is the challenge only infrastructure, or do we also need stronger intelligence, trust, and strategy? Yes, and we also need to work on people who sabotage the nation, from within. Basically, the intelligence is very important.
All right, it's a convenient place to leave this topic this morning. We say thank you for being a part of the show, and do not forget to link up with us on all socials, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter at Dominion Cast. And do well to join us again next week, same station, same host, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays. And as I always say before I go, security business is everybody's business. If you say something, say something. Samson Balogun is my name. Bye for now.
And I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. Thank you for joining us today. See you on Monday, and please be safe.
I'm Anulu Akpoido. Bye for now.